Easter to all of you. What a beautiful morning we have. It's a beautiful day in our consciousness. Welcome to Unity of Bellingham. My name is Dyann Castro-Wehr, and I'm your platform assistant this morning. And today, Reverend Frank is our minister, and we'll be hearing a talk entitled, "The Door Cracks Open." And our music ministry is so happy to welcome. We have two treats for you today. Heartdream is here with us. And our dear Heart and Soul as well. As we prepare for our time of meditation and reflection, I invite you to settle into your seats and find a comfortable position. Taking a few deep breaths to sink inward. We are here. We are present. And as we sink into our heart space, let's recall those people or situations who we wish to send a prayer or a blessing to right now. And I invite you to speak their names out loud. We affirm the highest good and positive outcome in these individuals' lives and these situations. And I invite you to take a few more deep breaths as we pause to spend a few moments with a very simple spiritual practice. And that practice is noticing. Just noticing. Noticing without any judgment. Notice your breath. Does it want to deepen? Is it held? Just notice. Is there any tension in your body? Any tension that may be ready to be released? Just notice. We sit and we notice without judgment of anything that arises. And from this place of openness, we listen now to the daily word for today. And the word is arise. With an affirmation, I rise to accept new life and renewal. Please join me in saying that. I rise to accept new life and renewal. Jesus, our teacher and way shower, transcended darkness to light and death to a new life. This overcoming of death is the ultimate inspiration and example of our humankind and a precious gift of hope and renewal. This Easter, I gratefully accept my renewal as I awaken to the call of the divine. I turn to the Christ presence within me and discover new life and new energy, lifting me into higher awareness and understanding of spiritual truth. In doing so, I leave behind that which has held me in bondage. I rise above limiting beliefs, habits, and actions. With unwavering faith, I rise to accept inspiring new possibilities and the fullness of God's glorious life, love, and grace. And so we'll say the affirmation one more time. I rise to accept new life and renewal.
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love.
Am I on? Yeah. You know, what a musical morning. And not only do I want to shout out to the musicians, thank you, just, and the harmony, oh, I'm so envious, harmony. I also want to shout out to the AV team today, and Jay Scott, who's not here. Hi, Jay Scott. Listen, Jay Scott's not here, but I think they've got just about every microphone we own. And so I'm like, is this one working too? And it does. Isn't that amazing? It's like a miracle, except it's also a lot of work. So thanks you, y'all, back there. Jane and Jim and Howard, who are back there today. So many of you know that last week, Dyann and I went to visit my daughter. She's at Harvard Divinity School. So cool. We got to go to classes with her. And a number of people were doing their master's thesis. One of them did a spiritual film festival. So we got to see some films. And so we were and we didn't rent a car. So we were walking a mile here, a mile there, a mile here, a mile. We were walking a lot. And then we'd show up and we'd go. It was like eat, class, talk, eat, class. One of those vacations. So nice. And it was cold in Boston and in Cambridge. But one of the persons, she's studying to be a chaplain, a hospital chaplain. So she did her final thesis was a musical. She's actually a musician as well. And she wrote a 6-act play, 6-song play about someone who was in a hospital. It was really interesting because her family was all sitting around her singing a song about come home, come home, come home. Obviously, the understanding meaning come back to us. But meanwhile, the lady's sitting they're all just sitting in chairs, but you can imagine she's in a hospital bed. And she keeps hearing this song, come home, come home, come home, meaning come home, transform. It's time to move on. So you see the family sitting here saying, come home, and she's singing, come home, and what is it? What is it? Which is it? There's no right or wrong here. Because the truth is we go home, no matter which way. We're moving in the way of our unfoldment of our good. What option do we have? No matter which way, even when we take seemingly wrong turns, somehow in the end, it turns out that there's a possibility for our renewal. Always grace, always grace. The very last song she did, and this song lasted in the choir, and Joy got up there, a bunch of the students ran up, and they were like a choir. And the final refrain that went on and on and on. And you see all these people sitting down besides their loved one in the hospital bed, and they were all sitting there. And you could imagine the sort of like the energies of the divine sitting there with her as well. And now I'm going to forget it. I knew. When love sits beside us, a door cracks open. Light calls to light. And this was the refrain. When love sits beside us, a door cracks open and light calls to light. Yeah. And they sang that song and it ended. I said, I know the Easter talk. I know what it is. Say that with me. When love sits beside us, a door cracks open and light calls to light. Now look at the people sitting on your right and left for a second. When love sits beside us, a door cracks open, light calls to light. Yeah. Now close your eyes for a second and imagine this. Just imagine the divine energies, the energy of the Christ, of Jesus, or of angels, of whoever your spiritual teachers is. And just imagine them sitting here next to you. And say that with me again. When love sits beside us, a door cracks open and light calls to light. Imagine someone you haven't seen, someone that you love dearly, but maybe they're away, they live in another town, a family member, a friend. Or right here with your eyes shut, you can imagine them sitting right here next to you. Say it again. When love sits beside us, a door cracks open and light calls to light. Would you stand up with me for a second? Just stand up for 1 second. Just to help us get this in our bodies. And do a movement something like this. When love sits beside us, a door cracks open and light calls to light. Someone saying, yeah, just whack me, the one sitting beside me. That's love. Okay, we'll do it really gently in kindness to our neighbor. When love sits beside us, a door cracks open and light calls to light. Yeah. Okay, you can sit. That's a theme. You will see it coming back over and over. I want to let you know, some of you, we have some new people here. That's great. But just a little snapshot. Easter is a break. We went through 7 weeks of Lent. And for those of you who followed some of that or most of that, we talked about Lent being an in-breath. The whole thing of Lent was taking it in. We were doing some internal work. And with each week of Lent, we talked about another component. We used actually the story of Genesis, 7 days of creation, 7 days of internal movement, that the whole leading up to Easter was an involution, not an evolution, an involution, an emergence, not an emergence, an emergence. That whatever happens in our life, before we even take a step in the outer world, in the material plane, or in our psyche, or in any kind of movement out, we first prepare by taking a breath in. And we talked about, and we went through each week about these different things that come online, our understanding and our will and love and faith and all the powers and all the resources we have and all the compassion, all the stuff that we have to make good decisions, to make the next step of our life be the profound next possibility that is there. But before we move out, we wanted to move in. It's almost like Lent is almost like a roller coaster. Remember, you get on the roller coaster and it starts, you start going up. This is Lent. We're getting ready. We're getting ready. We're getting ready. And you get like Good Friday is like almost to the end, and you're looking out and you're going, oh my God, you're still going up. And then you hit the pinnacle, right? You're at the very top. And it almost feels like you're on the roller coaster at the very top, and you're looking out, and it feels like it slows down. That's Holy Saturday. That's yesterday. That's the tomb. That's the end of the story from Friday, Good Friday, the crucifixion, the death, in the story of Jesus, in the story from the New Testament. And then it's Holy Saturday, it's quiet. It's like you take a breath in, that moment, when you just stop. You know, you haven't breathing out, but you're done breathing in. Holy Saturday, a pause. And then you go over and you go, oh, and you feel you're going down, and here it comes. Yeah, Easter. That's Easter. We have done breathing in the 7 weeks of Lent, that whole involution. And now we're on the other side. Oh, here we go, the evolution. What's coming next? The emergence of all the stuff we prepared in our inner spirit, in our inner work, in our inner consciousness, in our spiritual practice, in our journaling, in our work to prepare. That's half of the equation. And then comes Easter, and then it pays off. And now we express out. And the reason we do this every single year is just like a breath. Because after a while, we're back into doing our internal spiritual work. And we're back to expressing the gifts that we've taken in, and the strengths and the new insights. And we breathe in to understand what's our potentiality, and we breathe out to act. We act. We work on our being, and we work on our becoming. And we be, and we become. We go into Lent, quiet. We go into Easter. Let's go. It's Easter. It's time to show up. It's time to make a difference. And this is the season. This is the rhythm. If someone asks you, oh, what was Reverend Frank's talk about on Sunday, on Easter? You can tell them it's about rhythm. It's about rhythm. It's about this truth, this deep spiritual principle that this is the reality of life. Always about life. The in, the out, the rhythm of things. Deep spiritual truth of the rhythm. I'll tell you something about the rhythm that might change for you a little bit. Ooh, we talk about it all the time. But there's a story involved here, a story that involves this rhythm, and a story that kind of digs into it a little deeper. And I want to tell you that story. It's I wanted to read to you from Mark. My first year here was 2021. Almost everything I did was from the Gospel of John. It was a John year. That was the Fillmore's favorite. Charles Fillmore always talked about Gospel of John. It's the one he loved. this thing, I'm in you and you are in me and I'm in the Father and the Father's in me and you are in me and we're all in each other and we're all one, and this whole unification, this whole piece of like we all reside in each other. Who are we talking about, you and me? It's this energy of us. And this us includes the divine energy that's flowing in us and through us and as us. This is John, right? And then last year I did Luke. And what I love about Luke is Luke's always about what do we call the Anawim, the poor. You know, who is it about the lepers and the poor and the outcast and the sinners and the people at the party and the tax collectors, all those. Those are the ones. Jesus said, yeah, I like you. I like you. It's not about moral purity and who's doing it right and wrong and who's better than others. No, it's about you. It's about me. It's about all of us. I love that about Luke. It's about women. In the time in a patriarchal society, it was about the women. And now I'm going to, maybe this year, really lean into Mark. Here's what I like about Mark. Mark's only 16 chapters, very short, first one written. Doesn't have time to mess around because Mark's in a hurry. This is happening, and we don't have time to mess around. Let's go. Roller coaster. Woo, here's Mark. Man, let's go. One of the line in the Gospel of Mark that's the most common is, and then immediately they, and Jesus did this, and then immediately they, and then they did that, and then immediately they. Birth story? No birth story. I don't have, Jesus was born. Here he is. Now let's go. I'm going to read it to you. I'm going to read it to you a couple times. First, I just want to read it, and then I want to tell you something about it. But notice this. Sabbath is over. Sabbath is over. Saturday's over. It's Easter. It's Sunday, and here we go. Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of James, and Salome, 3 women. Who is this story about? Brought spices so they might go to anoint Jesus' body. And very early on the first day of the week, just after sunrise, didn't we just do Genesis? Remember that? All of you were here. We did Lent, day of Genesis. Every day of Lent was a day of Genesis. And then the morning came and the evening followed. Here comes a day. Parallels, huh? So very early on the first day of the week, after sunrise, they were on the way to the tomb, and they asked each other, who will roll away that stone from the entrance of the tomb? But when they looked up, they saw the stone, which was large, had been rolled away. And as they entered the tomb, they saw a young man dressed in a white robe, sitting on the right side, and they were alarmed. Sitting on the right side, and they were alarmed. When love sits down beside you, a stone cracks open, and light calls to light. Don't be alarmed, he said. You are looking for Jesus, the Nazarene, who was crucified. He is risen. He's not here. See the place where they laid him? Now go tell the disciples and Peter, he's going ahead of you to Galilee. There you will see him just as he told you. And trembling and bewildered, the women went out and fled the tomb, and they were afraid. So we just had a story that everyone knows. It's about, Jesus was resurrected. That's the story, right? Who's missing in this story? Jesus. Who's the story about? Who's the story about? Us. Us, Salome. Salome. Us, Mary from Magdala. Us, Mary, mother of James the Lesser. Who's the story about? Where's Jesus? It's Mark. Jesus ain't got time to sit around and wait. We're busy. We're off to Galilee. Let's get the show rolling. The story, it's interesting. The very first gospel written, the Gospel of Mark, just maybe 30, 35 years after Jesus died, the story of the resurrection. We've moved on. Jesus is going ahead. Jesus is going, come on, come to Galilee. Come to Galilee, I'll meet you there. And what is Galilee? The word Galilee comes from a Hebrew word that means circuit. It means like a powerful circuit. It means like a circle or a ring or a circle of things. Did we talk about the rhythm of things? I'm going to go ahead of you to Galilee, the town where the circuit connects, where the energy connects, where the vibration is alive, where all this is happening. I'm going to go there. Go there. Mary Magdala, she comes from Magdala, and Magdala is like a town that means a tower. Catch this. Mary of Magdala. And oftentimes what Fillmore, what Unity say is when you talk about these women, you can oftentimes think in a sense that we're talking the soul of a person, the feminine anima, the soul energy. So the soul goes forward, and this part of the soul is a tower. It's like a high level. It's like when you see it, you go, whoa, Magdala had a big tower. That's why they always call Mary of the Magada, the towering one, the one that's so bright, that's so strong, that's like very, you think of elevated consciousness when you think of Mary of Magdala. And then there's Salome. She's the mother of the two disciples, James and John. And how many times, if you remember, there are so many stories, it's like, so Jesus went off, and who did he take with him? Peter, James, and John. Peter, James, and John. Peter, James, John. These three power centers of our life: head, heart, and wisdom. James meaning wisdom, John meaning love, and Peter meaning faith and this divine understanding. So who is the one that shows up at the tomb? The mother of James and John. The soul energy, the birther, the energy that gives arising this new energy of deep spiritual wisdom and deep spiritual love. These two beautiful things. And then you have also, add to this, Mary, the mother of James the Lesser, the other Mary. And that Mary is connected with the idea of order, divine order. Things are outpicturing in the way that divinely they are inspired to unfold. There's a rhythm of things, an unfolding of things. Yeah. What's it? Blessings to Marilyn here. Bye, dear. So these three women represent still in the same way wisdom, order, love, and upper level of consciousness. They're the ones that show up at the tomb. The roller coaster's going. We've got all the things we need. We've got all the tools we want, and here it goes. And they walk in, and they're ready to put spices on Jesus, because there's like, well, it's a body, and it's over. And how are we going to roll away the rock? But at a level, the rock is just moved. Sometimes we work so hard to think we need to work to make things happen. We need to work so hard for our life to unfold in the way that we imagine it should be, it ought to be. We add these words should and ought and gotta be. And instead, these high spiritual entities show up, and this rock, and I mean, imagine the rock that covered a tomb. It took Howard and I to lift this thing, and my back still hurts. Yeah. I mean, imagine that much. It's like the rock. It's got to move. We got to move it. But instead, can we just allow what needs to emerge to move these stones itself? Oh, I've been really paying attention to this. Let's stop working so hard and let's start allowing. Let's move from a level of awakened consciousness, not going, oh my God, something went wrong, Jesus is dead, we got to bury the body. No, there's a new energy that says this is an arisen energy, this is transformative energy. And if we get our consciousness to the place where we see that potentiality of transformation and know that that's the truth of us, that we don't have to work for it, it's what's being drawn out of us, it's what the divine says, this is the nature of who you are. You move on this level, you move and follow the way shower and this master teacher, Jesus. I mean, even this guy, man, he was so true to his understanding. I mean, they're nailing him, they're killing him, and he goes, forgive them, I forgive you. You don't know what you're doing. This level of forgiveness, this level of rising above it all, has an energy that allows this spiritual energy to move the stones of our life. Oh, I don't have any stones to move in my life. Yeah. Here's one, but I can't. Stone. I'm never any good at that. Stone. There's something new I want to emerge in my life, but every time I try, it just doesn't work. Stone. Oh, here's one. Yeah, maybe when I was younger, but now I'm too old. Ginormous stone. Yeah. All these stones in our life. I didn't study the right thing. I didn't read the right books. I want to get to know them better, but if I talk to them, they wouldn't like me. Ooh, stone. Name you. Yeah, we're laughing because we all know the stones of our life. And you think, well, maybe if I do something, I can move that stone out of my life. I can open up into this new potentiality. I can move on. And it's not a matter of It's going to take Howard and I to actually move this thing, I know, that physically. But what we're talking about is on the spiritual level, on this level of our psyche and in our sense of allowing these stones to crunch us. We need to call our inner Mary and Salome. We need to call those energies of John and Peter and James. All these are people in the story, but this is a story. I mean, there's some historicity to it, fine. I mean, some of these people did exist, and there's some kind of historical context, but it's written as a spiritual story. Read it as a story, not as history. There's some history there. No, Reverend Frank says there's no history to it. There's some history to it. But read it as a story with its deep symbolic meanings. When we go with this high spiritual energy, we're not going to find the death, this terrible the end result of something a big failure. We're going to find an opportunity when we rise into this consciousness, this Mary, Salome consciousness. We can rise and things will emerge from us. Things will happen for us. Stones will be moved where we didn't think they were, and we can allow ourselves to walk through and see this new awakened awareness of what's inside. And they go in and they see this young man in a robe, and some people say, well, that must have been an angel, must have been this. It's a story. It's a way, what Charles Fillmore says is that's the power, that young man in the robe sitting there in the tube, is the power of affirmations. That represents the power of affirmative prayer. The power of saying, I am no longer going to say I can't. I'm now going to say what the divine wants to emerge through me. I am now going to allow it to come through me. The person in this young man says, he says, oh, power of affirmations. You don't be, oh, here it is. You're looking for Jesus, the Nazarene who was crucified. Nazareth was a town, you got to understand, and I'm not going to give an example. You think of one for yourself because I want to be careful here. Do you know a place, a town where someone goes, oh, they lived in that town? You went, oh, man, no wonder they're that way, you know? Do you know a place like that? I know someone that I know someone who left one town and they left. Wait, you ever gonna move back there? No, never. I'll never go back to that place. You know, in the scripture it says numerous times, Jesus from Nazareth. He can't be the Messiah from Nazareth. Nothing good comes from Nazareth. Remember that? Nothing good. So to say you're looking for Jesus the Nazarene, you know, that the person from that town, who was crucified. Which, you know, in those days, who got crucified? Robbers, thieves, marauders, revolutionaries, violent people. It was the worst way to die was getting crucified, because it says you're just the worst kind of person. Only the worst kind of people do we crucify. So he's crucified and he's from Nazareth. He's not taking it as a thing of shame. This person, this proclamation says, yeah, right. You may think and have a story about ourselves about, well, not me, because I'm not good enough, and I came from Nazareth, and, you know, people didn't like me, and someone says, you know, whatever the thing is, it's the tapes, and they're not only the tapes that are running in our minds we're conscious about, there's all sorts of stuff that's running in our subconscious as well, telling us why we can't, or why we shouldn't, or why we won't, or why we're not good enough, or why we can't go forward. We're on the roller coaster, and Mark's going, yeah, enough of that. You could say that about Jesus. Did he care? No. He's not here. He is risen. He is risen. Say, he is risen. Say, I am risen. Yeah. We are risen. Unity of Bellingham is risen. Is risen. Yeah. The angel has given us affirmations. He's not here. He's not here in the place of death. He's risen and gone beyond. So then he says, see the place where they laid him, but go tell his disciples and Peter. I'm going to pause here. Many of you were here for a Good Friday service, and the words we did, it goes back to just the chapter before in Mark. Matthew, it's like 4 chapters before, and John, it's like 18 chapters before. But Mark doesn't have time to wait, so it's like just the chapter before. People asked Peter when he was kind of at the court late at night on what would have been our Thursday night, Wait, you're the one that, you were with Jesus. We know you because Jesus is arrested. No, I don't know him. And then a lady says, you know him? He goes, no, not me, I don't know. And finally, an hour later, early in the morning, someone says, I know, you speak like a Galilean. You have that dialect, so you must be his friend. I tell you, I don't know him. And a cock crows, right? The rooster crows. And Jesus predicted that before the rooster crows, you'll deny me 3 times. And Peter was just a mess. He's like, this was the spiritual teacher of mine. I've been following him for years. He called me the rock. Jesus gave me the name, Simon says. He called me Cephas. He called me a rock, that I'm the one that's firm and I'll never fail. And what did I do, man, when it got bad? Totally broke down and denied Jesus. And, so it might be, sad to think of how he would have felt at that point, how he denied his spiritual teacher, maybe his best friend, and this person he loved like no other, and this person who inspired him and transformed his life. And then he failed him. And yet, it's interesting in the story, it says Jesus, when the rooster crows, he just turns and looks at him. It doesn't say looked at him with judgment, looked at him with scorn, looked at him with hate. I mean, we might read that into the story. What I read into the story is looked at him with love. He looked at him with love. Yeah, he looked at him with love. And what happened? What happened to him when Jesus turned and looked at him? Even after he denied him 3 times, he looked at him with love, and love sat beside him. And the door of his heart cracked open, and light called the light. And it transformed him. He needed the time that it took to transform him. And now Jesus is saying in the resurrection, he goes, go tell the disciples and go tell Peter. Be sure you tell Peter. He's good, man. I'm with him still. Do you ever feel Peterish? He was called rock, faith, meaning, this idea of faith, firm faith. And that he failed. Hi, humans. Hi, humans. This happens. This is what we do. But the spiritual energy transforms and still calls out. And love still sat beside him, and the door of his heart cracked open. And light still called to light. The light of Jesus still called to the light of Peter. Go tell him I'm okay. And then it ends, and it's like, you need to go forward, and you need to get to Galilee. And I told you need to get into this energy of the circuit, of the circle, of the flow. Yeah. So I mentioned that a deep spiritual principle, if you will, is this sense of rhythm, is a sense of rhythm. All things are in rhythm. All things vibrate. All things move. It's the nature of who we are. It's the nature of being alive. It's the nature of the universe. The cosmos moves and the galaxies move, and there's a rhythm to things, and they move back and forth. And the beauty of Easter, that we always put it, I don't know historically necessarily exact time these events would have happened. But what's important is the symbology that they happen as we turn from winter into spring. And the different flowers and the bulbs and the seeds and all these things are starting to move, and there's a transformation time. It's a transformation time. And we can be in on that transformation and that time for movement and be on that roller coaster. There's if the first 7 weeks were the in-breath, and if I was reading a book, I think the kind of things I read were a lot about more internal, more about meditation, more about sitting, more about stillness. The last days of winter, some great meditation opportunities. Now's the time for acting, becoming, being, and becoming. So I want to leave you with this, with Easter and the season we're moving into, and the next time, where we're at on this rhythm of things, on this rhythm of things. It's time to show up. One of the things as a class, I'll just mention this now, is starting not this Thursday, but next Thursday, a class called Emergence. Coincidence? Think not. And I've been reading through it and getting ready, and so there's still a sign-up sheet for it. And it's about this Easter energy. It's about now that we're ready and we want to show up, how does that emerge? I mean, what's the process? What's the step? What's the spiritual tools you use to show up and to find the next unfolding of our life? For this year, for next year. We talk about things in terms of years because that's, just the cycle. But this could be like, what's going to happen the next year? What's going to happen the next 5 years? What's going to happen the next 10 years? What is ready to emerge? And what I find is I've been working through this book to get ready for the class, just these rocks, these stones. Here's what I'd like to see emerge. And no sooner do I write it down, I go, yeah, but there's this problem and that problem. And it's like, we do this. We do this. And like with Peter, the gaze comes back. The gaze from the divine, the gaze from the Christ energy that you could think of the Christ without, the Christ within, that spiritual life, that divine life within us looks at us, goes, yeah, but I love you, and we can do this. And it's not a matter of working harder. It's a matter of raising consciousness to be in that field, to align ourselves with and be harmonious with the download we're getting about, I am calling you, go ahead to Galilee, get in the circuit, go forward. There's something for you to do. I want you to be in that circuit. I want you to be aligned. And you will find, I hear, I feel, I've experienced this many times, as all of you, so many times. And when we're aligned and when it's the right thing and when you go, the stars are aligned, it's just amazing. Everything worked out. Oh, yes, of course it does. The stone has moved away. We just have to get aligned into that energy to let it unfold what the next steps for our lives to unfold. And if you go out and you think of anything, you go, but I can't do that. The stone, allow it to move. Allow it to move. Because here's the truth, in our heart, in our life, the right people show up, the right energy show up, the right circumstances show up in the external and in the internal, and we know that love, this gaze of love, Jesus, this turn to Peter, this gaze, we all get this gaze, it's a gaze of love. And when love sits down beside us, when love sits within us, when love plants itself in our hearts, the love of the divine, that is the truth of the love of ourselves, then a rock moves away, a door cracks open, an opportunity presents itself. The next unfolding stage of our life becomes available to us. Just walk through it like Mary and Salome did. Walk through it. Yeah, walk through that cracked open door, and light calls to light. Be in that flow. Go to Galilee. Be in that circuit. Be in that flow. Feel that vibrational match. Yeah, the truth of our nature. It's the truth of us. So we can step into that, right? Okay? Happy Easter. Yeah.